I don't think about it too long. I'm just glad it sold. The way to tell is if a bunch of people start jumping and, man, you undersold that, then you start to feel a little bad. But that doesn't generally happen. Yeah, the names I sold
Hold
this
on, Adam.
time.
I wanted you to know I did I did initiate the live stream, so I just wanted to welcome people and say we are live streaming on YouTube, and this will be on the replay on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But we're right into the DNX show here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Me and Josh Reason are the hosts. My name is Todd Ryan. Josh is on his way in now. We have guest Adam Masonette. Is that how your last name is pronounced, Adam?
You got it.
I mean, I always
Perfect.
knew it was, but it was like, is there such thing? I guess it's a bayonet. Is there such thing as a masonet as well?
I think in French, even though I'm not French, it stands for a little house, I
Okay,
think.
okay. But anyway, so
Um,
Adam was talking more importantly about 3 domain sales he had in 24 hours, and Ish, I always tell Ish, comes in threes, and that's the great thing about domains is you're right. You can get, the world doesn't know that you have these other names, so they can go boom, 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 and it did for you. But so sorry for interrupting. Go ahead and what market were they all after, Nick? And just tell us a little bit about what happened for each transaction.
no, it's a mix of Afternic and Spaceship. The first name I think is local.gg, which I sold for 9995, and that one actually a few weeks ago they wanted to buy it on Afternic. They approached the broker, contacted me, said they want to do a 24-month LTO or talk about doing an LTO. The problem is Afternic does not support LTOs for .ggs. I'm not sure if this is the only TLD they don't support with it, but for some reason they don't do it with GG. So the potential buyer bailed. And then, I'm thinking, okay, I lost that sale. Maybe they'll find it on another platform. And then lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, they buy it on Spaceship, where I did have an LTO set for 12 months. So they went with the 12-month LTO there. So that sale got saved, and I don't have to pay 15% commission. I get to pay 10. So I was happy about that. Then I sold an old name I bought mostly for parking, http www.com. So, I bought that when parking was more of a thing, thinking it would have some decent traffic. And it had a tiny bit of traffic, but it just wasn't worth it for me. And I think I paid around 700 and something dollars for it back then. I only sold it for 2,000, but I just wanted to get rid of it. I made some ROI, not the times 10 that all us domain investors, respect, but I'll take the 2 to 3 times and be fine with it because now it's gone and I don't really see a lot of use for it, especially since people don't really type, HTTP or www much anymore. Uh, and then I sold masterprompts.com for $49.95. And I just bought that a few months ago, I think. So I like prompt names. I've sold several of them. And that was a .com. It wasn't any other extension either. So 2 .coms there. And then I sold, well, that was 3 there. But I also, oh no, and I sold spec.app for 5,000. So 4,995. I've had that one for 2 years. Um, I've sold several apps in the past, but usually not for a lot of money. Then again, the quality of my apps are probably not up there where they, would demand that kind of money. So I sold that. I was happy to have that. And then what's interesting is I said I had 3 sales in 24 hours, but probably in the last 2 weeks I've had like 6 sales. I sold Andromeda.gg for 9995 on the 18th, and that was also an LTO for 12 months. Um, and I sold thisguy.com at the beginning of the month. Another LTO, a lot of LTOs. I usually don't get LTOs. Also for 9995. That seems to be a good price point for a lot of my names. Um, and that was it. But what I thought was interesting was the name I sold, local.gg. Um, that one, by looking at the name and the buyer in the Spaceship interface, it looks like it's actually someone local from Guernsey Island that bought it. So, which makes sense. They're probably doing some kind of tourism site or something, where you can go see all the local stuff. So I've never had somebody actually from the Guernsey Islands supposedly buy a .gg name from me. So I thought that was interesting that an original ccTLD purchase was made there. So I thought that was cool.
Well, I'm going to check Josh's mic, but Adam, it's just great information. But two GGs, a dot app, and then this guy, excuse me, this guy it was a dot com, correct?
Yeah. Oh, I did sold a .ai also.
Yeah.
ADAD.ai for
AD.
yeah
How much
for
you sell it for?
6995.
6995. This guy. Well, Josh, let's check your mic. How's everything going today?
Very well, thanks. Congrats on all the sales, Adam. It's good.
Yeah, your mic sounds good.
Thanks. Like I said, I'm working out. I'm doing
Yeah,
my
yeah. Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Really, okay, so both of you guys' mics sound good. We're streaming live, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is the DNX Show. As I said, here every Thursday, we talk about domain investing at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I got a couple great domain investors on stage, my co-host Josh Reason and Adam Masonette, who, were joking around. Yeah, they come in threes. And then he said, actually, I had six. There's seven if you count AD. This is great for people, for listeners to know, yeah, there is activity. These names do sell. If you just listen to guys like me, sometimes you think, why are you even doing it? Interesting. Adam, how many names do you have? Is it just right over 1,000 now, 1,100, 1,200?
Yeah, just over 1,100 names right now. So it's I've been growing it slowly but surely. I'm in no rush. I'm not looking to get a giant portfolio. I just want to buy names that kind of interest me. That I think will do well. I'm always looking for good purchases. I'd be fine spending a good chunk of money on some good names. If the opportunity arises. Because I'd like to invest in better and better quality names when I can, and at the same time picking up names, usually in other TLDs, that are good deals. As we know, auction prices right now are just crazy, especially for .coms. That's why I like the other TLDs. I don't think there's as much competition there, and so you can get them for a lot less. And I think the ROI you can get with those names are probably better than most that you can pick up at auctions these days if you're chasing .com. So it's very rare these days. I mean, I'm trying to buy .coms, so they just go over what I'm willing to pay for them. So I just pass on them. But I still do pick them up when I can. It's just a lot harder these days.
So no, Josh, you may have known this. I didn't know this, but no LTO options for .gg names at Afternic, but yet through Spaceship, correct me, Adam, you can do it there through Spaceship. Any other place you can offer LTO?
I think you can do it anywhere
Sure.
that supports LTOs except for Afternic, and I'm not sure why. GG name, their registry is a little weird. They're very simple. They remind me of the old .ai registry. They don't really provide a lot of information, and they also don't really have any kind of confirmation with the authorization codes. Like if you're transferring it and you get an authorization code, that's it. It's transferred. There's no secondary way, to validate the transaction. So I imagine that Afternic probably doesn't feel comfortable with that lack of security, of that extra step. That's just a theory of mine why they're not doing it. But their registry is pretty crude. It's just not a lot to it. So I think in the past they might have had LTO for GGs, but I don't know. I didn't really sell them back in the day, when Afternic would have had them, or I just don't remember.
I mean, of course, we hear Logan Flat on DNW and we see him in person at the events, but another .gg investor, there's like a handful that I know of. I don't know, Mark Levine might have had a couple or maybe partners with Logan, but Josh, do you have any .gg or .app names in your portfolio?
Yeah, I do. I have like every TLD, I would say, in my portfolio, it feels like, but at least the popular ones. Yeah, I have a few .apps, but I have quite a lot of .ggs.
And what's the renewal for GG? $55 or what is that?
Yeah, $50. Yeah, sounds about right.
50. And Adam, where do you keep yours? Over at Dynadot, or where do you keep your .ggs?
I keep them over at Spaceship. They have the best overall prices, like for a legit registry. And because there's no fast transfer for a lot of these alternate TLDs on Afternic, it doesn't really matter where you keep them. You don't need to have a fast transfer active registry, so a registrar, so or whatever. So yeah, I keep them there. And Spaceship has some great prices. So other TLDs, I think I have a few other TLDs that I keep there just because they have the best prices.
So 1,100 names, but what would you say, in just a ballpark, what's your, if you didn't acquire any more names, over the course of a year, what's your renewal for those 1,100? We know if they were all .com, it would be, say, 11 times 10 or 1,100 times 10, a little bit more than that. So maybe 12,000. Because you have this other mix and some AI in there, are your renewals around 20,000, 25,000? What would you guesstimate?
Yeah, I'd guess around 20,000 a year. I'm thinking with the GGs and the AIs. I mean, I have about 100 .GGs now, so and I have around 50 .AIs. Those are my most expensive. And everything else is a lot cheaper for the most part.
Yeah, no, thanks, because that's a big deal, but it's not backbreaking. I mean, if you have good names, it's still, you, like we said with the mix, the .com certainly helps. Josh, when it comes to I was going to mention about his LTOs, there was something. I'm just aghast. I'm looking. So that was spec SPEC that you sold, or was it SPECK?
With a K.
With a K. Okay, I know an old
Like a
guy.
speck of dust.
Yeah, an old guy, they used to call him Spec till he died. It was John Mellencamp's dad. Okay, so yeah, this guy, a lot of them, 9,995. Very, I'm just I'm like, it's fucking great. But I agree with the HTTP www.com that you picked up. It's a, even Adam. So he picked it up for 700, had it for many years. Sometimes it's just not what you think. You keep looking at it and you don't really, like he did, just to get your money out of it times three, was great. And then you have things like master prompts that he said he only had for less than a year for $49.95. And before we ask, anybody wants to ask Adam or Josh questions, come on up. What a great chance to do this, especially guys that are willing to spend on names. And Josh, I want to ask you, what's some of your latest pickups, just so we can try to figure out what you're buying.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did we talk about that last week? Maybe I picked up a lot of .ai names.
And you
So
continue to do it, the
I'm not sure.
3-letter. You said you even bought one for 3,500, but no, that's what we want to hear. So you're continuing to do that if it's worth it, right?
Yeah, I picked up DSA.ai for 3,500. That's the one I paid 3,500 for, but most of them are paying around $1,000 for. DSB.ai, BLG.ai, SSW, WWS, BWT, so like good letters, BGF, FMF, paid on average around 1,000 for those each. And yeah, that's basically all I bought Kitto.com, KITTO, and I bought Talento.com, TALENTO. Yeah, that's about it, really.
I got Payupo, Payupo, Payupo. Yeah.
That's why I'm having to pay up on those names.
Are you noticing, like Adam said, in the aftermarket, basically the GoDaddy auctions, even over at NameJet and so on, is it just noticeably higher on everything, or I mean, are you noticing that too?
Nothing has changed for me. I still do not participate in auctions. If I was, it would be Namecheap. If I was to participate on auctions, it would be Namecheap auctions. Although you've got like Narendra and Booth and a couple of other Asian guys and some big hitters that dominate the big names, there are some very good .ais that fall through the cracks, as I've kind of mentioned in my recent posts. I mean, I think what was the 3-letter one that I was referring to? I mean, you're seeing some 200 plus TLD 3-letter .ais slipping through the cracks under $1,000. So there's still opportunities there, and outside of .ai, there are some decent names that you can pick up on Namecheap auctions as well, whether it be .org or some .coms. But yeah, otherwise for me, pretty much avoid. Don't even look.
Adam, what's some recent pickups that you had?
Well, I was on vacation last week, so I wasn't picking up too many names. I did pick up actually a pronounceable 4-letter.com, Preb, Preb.com. I picked up, and then before that, I picked up promptmagic.com, bootmesh.com. I mean, and then quorums.com, the plural version of quorum. And then the rest of the names look like they're all other TLDs. I got an IO or two. I got Chai, CHI.io. I got some apps. And most of these I'm just paying the minimum price. Like there's really not a lot of competition for a lot of these, so it's worth gambling on. Some of them you do get into a bidding war. I picked up circle.gg. I was up against Logan, unfortunately, so things get a bit expensive. And yeah, just a lot of like random little stuff. I've been buying .devs too. I haven't sold any yet, but I've only been picking up for about 6 months. And most of them aren't priced too high. So I did pick up smart.dev, which has a bit of a yearly renewal, like I think a little less than 1K. So I'm taking a chance on that one.
Where'd you get that
At Docky.
at
So they
Docky?
have Docky. They have a lot of these alternate TLDs there. A few places sell them. Park.io sells some, and Catch.com has some too. Um, but yeah. So I'm just picking them up. I've even been hand regging some .ggs, which I never hand reg, but I'm kind of taking a chance, because they do get to be expensive, holding on to them. But I'm building up a list. I have all these names that are hand registrations that are unregistered that I can get, but I'm only picking some of them out of it. Basically, mostly gaming terms that I feel like small company or website or whatever would want to use. So I'm going to see if that works out. I've probably done about 10, 15, probably about a little over 10 hand registers for .gg, which is plenty because it comes out to $500 just for 10 names a year. So as long as I can sell one of them, I'm good.
If you're listening,
My sell-through rate on .ggs has been really good, which is why I'm doing this.
yeah. I mean, I was going to let folks know. Go back and listen to the replay, but I'm going to give it away. Adam sold 3 names in 24 hours, but he mentioned 7 names that he's sold in the last few months. The GGs, local.gg, Andromeda. Yeah, what were you going to say? Even more? But Andromeda.gg, 9995. He's got a lot of local.gg was 9995. But listen to the replay. Sold thisguy.com and spec.app. The one ADAD.ai. Did you hand register that one? I'm assuming you did. That's a weird one. Good pattern, but tell us about that sale, ADAD.ai.
No, I won that from an auction, and it was kind of a weird thing because I was thinking about possible potential interest in repeating letter AIs, so I picked up that, and I also picked up DRDR, like Doctor, .ai, but those are the only two, and I think the buyer is someone from Iran because there's a site adadai.ir. So they seem like they're the potential buyer for it, but it is a pretty limited pool. But I that was the beginning of my .ai purchases, and I was trying to find another angle. So when I saw those come up, I picked them both up. They were cheap enough, and then I listed them. And my AIs, they sell every once in a while. I feel like I have some good AIs, but I haven't had any really big sales with them. I think the 9995 price point, once again, I sold one last year for that, and I've sold a few others, but under that. So, but of course, I don't have any strong one words for them. I do have some, but nothing that's really that strong. I think I was picking up a lot of 2-word ones. I was going with that strategy where I pick up 2-word AIs with a lot of registrations in the tech space. A lot of them that end with tech, like gentech.ai and globaltech.ai. I have a bunch of those. So, and there's a lot of companies that use that. So I figured eventually there's going to be a company that's going to want to get on the AI, but haven't seen it yet, but I'm fine waiting.
Yeah, you're obviously not watching the news either. You're doing business with Iran. You get your ass in trouble. Can't. Just kidding. Hey, dude,
Yeah, I
we
know.
don't
I
want
was
anybody doing
surprised.
business with Iran. Okay. Hey, you know what? I wanted to say, no, just great information. You guys, if you want a chance, raise your hand, come on up, and you can ask Adam. So, you can just ask him to his face. Are you telling the truth? Adam, I cannot wait to meet you. Seriously, only because we've talked for so long. But I can't wait to meet you in Miami, just so you can think, geez, this guy is better looking in person. And you will say that probably under your breath, probably out loud. You probably just blurt it out. But anybody going to NamesCon, if you haven't got your ticket, I'm going to be there. Adam's going to be there. Josh will be moseying around the building like, fuck, I'm not going in. Fuck you guys. Anyway, you can use the code T.
Actually, last week, NamesCon reached out to me, and they were pretty nice. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. And yeah, I pretend like I had something to do with it. I didn't, of course. They just heard you on here.
No, I think you probably did.
Use code TR20 and you'll get 20% off. And they've told me several people have used it already. They're like, so yeah, we don't, they're surprised. They were like shocked. Why would anybody? And I said, before that, I was using Ron Jackson. So give me all that credit too. But TR20, you'll meet a lot of us there at NamesCon. It's going to be fun. I can't wait I was going to roast Amar, and he's like, you can roast me anytime, my friend, on the fucking timeline. I'm like, don't be nice. I mean, fuck. I mean, I don't want it. It's no fun when he makes it so that you can take a shot at me, my friend. But no, it really look forward to that. And yeah, I know they're going to be announcing, more of the sessions coming up, and it's interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to see you there, Josh. Last year you said something about buying me a steak. Okay, we'll leave it at that. We'll talk later. We got a lot to go over too, Josh, when you're there, because DNX will be, launching right around the time, I'm guessing, the registrar. That's a big deal to us domain investors. We like all the options, and we're doing a lot of work over at JJN Solutions with domain escrow now. So we have, anyway, accounts at all registrars, because if you buy a name, at a certain registrar, I mean, we hold a lot of names in custody, or that's how we do it. But I wanted to mention too, lovable.dev, because you were saying you were buying some devs, Adam. Of course, they went to the .com, and yeah, am I supposed to say Lovable's a client of JJN Solutions? And I was telling you about all the big companies that we're doing. That's just one of them, and they're just enormous. The growth, I just need to shut up, except, boy, what a dynamic company. But yeah, so we didn't assist in the .com that they picked up, but I do see that they bought it from like maybe an adult company, because people are commenting about what was on the site before, some kind of panties. But Josh, I wanted to ask you, since speaking of panties, are yours in a bunch today? No. So you always bring up that extent, the number of extensions. And I always think what's more important than number of extensions, this is what would be the number of domains that has that term in it. For example, Pay Now. Okay, we know it's registered in, I think, 100 and some extensions, maybe 200, I don't even know. But it was about 700 domain names contained Pay Now in them. And I bring that up because, paynowpayments.com or Pay Now Direct, it's important when you see, especially when you own a single word, to know, all right, there's a ton of companies that have this single word plus Inc. on it or Corp on it. Or anyway, Josh, I want to ask you, how do you figure in that piece of data? I mean, how important is that to you? I hear you always talk about the number of extensions, but how about the number of domain names that include that single word or that term?
Yeah, sure. That's definitely important as well. I mean, I talk about the number of extensions purely from a qualifying standpoint. It's like it's not necessarily a like be all end all determinant of value. It's just that when you're trying to filter through a boatload of potential potentially bad names, I think it's probably the most I wouldn't say important, but it's the best qualifier for getting a look at the names that you actually are interested in. Um, yeah, I mean, by far, in my opinion, by far the best qualifier. But yeah, just because a domain is registered in, you know, 100 TLDs, it doesn't automatically make it valuable. It just, you know, it's just helps it get into uh, um, a criteria that I can actually then just kind of just like take a look at and then continue my assessment. So yeah, TLDs by itself is not a metric that you should be buying a domain on. It's just a way that you should be able to filter through what you want to see.
Thanks. Before we get to Dan, thanks for joining us. Danny's here. I want to ask Adam that question about, I hear you bring up, like Josh, about the number of TLDs that's registered in. That plus what's one other thing that you immediately will look at to gauge value of a domain?
Right. I agree with Josh about the TLDs, just, kind of like being a filter. Except for the only exception that I have with that is if the word has to do with the TLD directly. So for instance, .gg, and also the more popular a TLD is, generally the lower the count needs to be of domains registered, for you to take a look at it. The rarer it is, you're going to need a lot more for to get past the filter. But when you have a SLD matching with the TLD, then you can go a lot lower. Like if I could find a game term, that has maybe 30 registrations, then here comes my cat. 1 second. So if you
That's
can
not
find a
not a very nice
TLD,
way to talk about your wife, man.
yeah.
I'll
so
just,
so I might find a gaming term in .gg. It only has 30 registrations, but because it's a gaming term and it goes well with the GG, I might look at that. And that'll work with some other TLDs too. Not all of them. Like for instance, .horse. You can look at .horse, but if you can pick up Arabian .horse, Arabian might not have a lot of registrations, but in .horse that would be a much better registration. That takes a lot more attention to detail. You can't just glance at it; you have to know it. So, but yeah, I do use it as a guide, and kind of like if it's worth my attention or not. When I'm looking, and because I'm not really looking at, every like few days I go through the drop list because of the cycle. I don't need to look at it every day. It takes a while for names to reach the expiration point and the auction houses. So I don't need to look at them every day. So I do use that. And what was the other part of your question,
no,
Todd?
yeah, just the tip. So you said that looking at the auction, but basically, what's when you see a name and you think, okay, it's registered, you already find out it's registered in 172 extensions. What's like the next thing you check?
Yeah, I look if there's any adoption for it. Like what they're being used for. You want to also make sure that they're not all just one person who registered 100 different extensions. You do see that every so often where somebody will register. A lot of betting sites do that, where they'll register it in like 150 TLDs, and so you don't want to be fooled by that. In the past, I have been nothing. Luckily, nothing that was expensive, but I saw a name that might have been taken in like 30, 40 TLDs at .com, and I bought it and I found out it was pretty much all the same company, that registered all the other ones, but they didn't have the .com. So I thought maybe that would be, they'd want that, but no such luck. So yeah, so you want to make sure that's the case. But I also look at, just general usage. Are companies using this in their name? Is it, or is it just some, weird registration that no one calls themselves at, or they pair it with a lot of words where it wouldn't make sense to have the domain name alone. So, and then I go a step further. Usually, if it's a name that looks good, I might check the trademarks just to see how many trademarks there are for it. If there's, just one trademark for a name or two, I'll most likely be staying away from it unless it's a generic. But usually that's not the case. But if there's a lot of trademarks for it, then I feel like it's overall pretty safe to go for it, and there might be a lot of interest in the name.
Yeah, those are good points. I'm going to be asking the crowd and you guys on stage what tools out there, what's the number one tool you use, but what are ones that are worth subscribing to? Because there's some really great tools, but people don't want to pay the price. But first, we're going to get to Dan. Dan, you come rolling on up here. First, Dan, I don't know, I don't recall a lot of your domain investing history. So if you can, give us a little background on your domain investing relationship, and then ask your question or make your comment. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks. I'm really, novice and just trying to learn as much as I can. And, started out with the nasty TLDs. I think my first one was in 2013 with a dot digital. And, so I've been trying to level up since then. I do have a small portfolio, and one question that I had, I think relates on these topics. Adam, you pointed out what came to mind with regard to the I guess breadth of users across the TLDs, and just having one person or one group buy up a whole bunch of them. That was a thought that I had too, so that resonates. But really good insight too on just that initial filter, Josh. You had mentioned Adam Docky, which I wasn't aware of as an auction site, and it seems like a lot of folks are picking things up at auctions, but may not necessarily pay for a wholesale price for names that are of similar quality if another investor reaches out. So outside of Dynadot, I was wondering if anyone could shed light on auction sites or tools where users can submit their own domain and just kind of have them be at auction versus trying to outbound at low prices just for a quick transaction. So any insights there would be helpful. And then I'm also going to be at NamesCon for the first time, so hopefully we'll be able to see a lot of these avatars in real life. So thanks.
Look forward to seeing you there, Dan. Yes, I'm taking a look at your face right now. Yes. Okay, so if I'm a little surprised when I first see you, just don't be like, okay. Anyway, no, I look forward to meeting you there, Dan. It is fun to meet everybody in public. Who knows, this time next year we'll be best friends. I know that's how it happened for me and Josh. You guys would have laughed when I rolled up on him, and he's like looking at me sitting on stairs like, you're not coming this way, are you? And I'm like, I'm coming right at you. Okay, but Josh, first you and then Adam. So he's asking, where can he auction names off at?
Whew. Gosh, that's such a. I feel like nobody does that anymore, huh? It's like 10 years ago, everyone used to do that, right? They would used to try to, they would either put it on public auctions at GoDaddy when GoDaddy used to have public auctions, or most people would put it on Flipper. Flipper was like the big one 10 years ago. And then also Namejet. All three of them were like buzzing. Like people were, investors were sending tons of names into Namejet. And there were loads of investor names running through Namejet on a daily basis. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that even exists anymore. I don't think anyone submits names to Namejet. I haven't really thought about that recently. But yeah, I would say I would say not at all.
Well,
I don't really know of any auction platform.
Well, Josh, you're right. So NameJet, they're not doing it anymore. And I was thinking right when you were saying it, the same thing. GoDaddy, NameJet, those were the two that I would immediately, always. And if you wanted to liquidate, um, and I know you're not going to get anything for them. It's a very low amount, but it's better. Sometimes you're like, all right, well, I want to get $20 for it to see if anybody would bid at all. And I did always okay at NameJet, especially. Yeah, well, 10 years ago, it was really good. That was 2016, so that was really good. But anyway, so the only places that I know you can auction now are if you have your names at Namebright, you can auction them through Dropcatch, which is really attractive. One, Dropcatch is a good spot. They have plenty of eyes, maybe not everybody, but at least it's legitimate. So you have your names at Namebright, you transfer them there, then you can offer them as a private seller through Dropcatch, smart, or Name Pros, just if you're not familiar with auctioning on a forum like that, go, check out a few auctions and see how they work. And then they have a nice, they're really organized over there. I'm all about Name Pros now. It's like, it's a great, it's a great domain investor forum, but those are the only two. Adam, do you know?
You can
Yeah.
also, I mean, if you have an account manager at GoDaddy, and I would say that probably is the qualifier. If you have an account manager at GoDaddy, you can email that account manager and ask, and ask, and send a list of domains. It would probably have to be a pretty significant list, maybe I'd say 50 plus. And there's a chance that they would include them in their kind of like quarterly auction. Um, but they would have to be decent. They would have to be pretty good quality, and there's no guaranteeing it, but it is possible.
Correct. Just thought there's going to be one at the end of September. If you got good names and you're willing to have low reserve, and I think I might try that and do some no reserve. Well, you're just asking for it. But listen, there's a lot of folks trying to, sell off some of their names, and you just can't. It's just hard to find liquidation. But so, Adam, I want to ask you, and then I want to say hi to KW. But Adam, do you know any place to auction names? I mean, privately.
Um, I've never used them myself, but I think Atom has an auction area where people can auction their names. And Cedo, doesn't Cedo allow it too? I'm not sure. I don't know how Cedo gets their names. I think you have to submit them for approval. And I'm not sure how Atom works either. They might do the same thing. And of course, Dynadot, which you mentioned before, Dynadot has auction as well. But yeah, I've never really tried to auction off names. Like anytime, I think a long time ago, back in the early 2000s, there was a platform called Bido. It might still be around, but I don't think anyone uses it. And I auctioned like one name on there, but that used to be popular. But yeah, I don't think most people do it. If they do, they kind of do it either through the Dropcatch services like dropcatch.com and submitting them, or they'll do it on their one of the forums or something. But yeah, I think it's tough to do an auction just because it's going to be mostly other investors. So you're going to get the investor price for it if you're lucky, and you need to get it in front of them. One of the things I didn't like about Adam's auction platform was that I think you had to be a seller, at least originally, so you couldn't even access a lot of the names. I don't remember. I think that might have been for portfolios. I'm not sure, but um, they've been building out their auction platform, and that's really it.
Honestly, I think the market is really just maybe just evolved beyond a need for private auctions, or at least it would suggest that. I think that the people with the names that would sell at auction typically don't want to sell their names at auction. So what happens is everyone that wants to sell names at auction, it's because they have bad names, and then nobody buys them. So then the auction platform is doing all this work trying to sell names that are not good, and it's just this kind of circular environment that doesn't work.
It seems like there's been so many people that have gotten into domain investing, and there are plenty of people who are like, listen, I want out. And sometimes you feel that way. But I mean, so not renewing, Mike over there who's doing that, what if instead of just $99 buy price, it was it started at a $50 auction, meaning we do see, right, you're right, most of the names are crap, most of them don't sell, but um, I like the option of all the names I was going to drop, I put at auction at no reserve, and why can't someone now have it automated? And it seems like there's still something there, because I believe a lot of people, one man's crap is another man's whatever, and I think there is a place for it. It just, I mean, I really believe that. I think the but it could be wrong. But why don't the companies do it? But we've mentioned a few places where you can do it. I was wondering why, and I want to do it. If I did an auction here of 10 names, no reserve on a DNX show, what I would do is tell everybody, okay, we're doing it September 20, whatever. I would give everybody a month, keep telling them. I'd say, here's some of the names, and know automatically, well, I've got the word out as much as I could. They know I'm auctioning these 4-letter, which are better than most people's bullshit I see on the thing. And we're going to, even like Ryan, how he tried that with the 3-letter on Name Pros. If I had a 3-letter and I don't, but a good one, and I said, we're going to do it here. Well, I already know, right? It's going to be limited eyes and people are going to say, yeah, but I'd still think, one, you could get rid of it. We know we could. There'd be somebody in here to go, okay, 3,000 for a 3-letter, 6,000. It'd go up probably just close to the Name Pros price, for a 3-letter. I guess the point is, it's how Name Pros, once you get familiar with how they do auctions, I'd like to do one, not live, but I'm saying right on my Twitter feed. But yeah, Josh is right. Most of the time we don't want to sell our names for these wholesale prices. But I do like the idea of on the Twitter feed, just going, here's the name, put your, the thing I think you're going to run into is just the anonymous person's going to fuck it up by bidding, too much and not paying, and you don't know who this person is, and you never can catch up with them. But I think there is a lot of people want to get rid of their portfolios, and it'd be nice if you had a place to, anyway, I need to bring some of these people that run the marketplaces in here that offer the auctions and have them just explain, how they can help private sellers. I think KW left. She, I don't know if she's having issues on her. KW, are you around? No? I don't know if, let's see. A couple requests. Arif, robotics reinvented. Okay, so Arif, thanks for joining us. Are you there? Come in.
Hey, yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, sounds good.
Right on, right on, right on. Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Josh is saying. It comes down to, quality control for a lot of these wannabe auction things. A lot of people want to do it, and usually it comes down people who want to auction their domains to other domainers. It's usually because they're not making retail sales, right? And so they're looking for a way out. But the problem is that if you're not making retail sales, it comes down to the quality of your domains. Like back when I was doing the socials, we did the occasional auctions, live auctions. It was more for educational and fun purposes, right? Like we maybe do 10 in a show, maybe somebody's even less than that. And I could tell you, like, just the quality control side of it, like on the back end, the submissions I got, like there's so much junk, so much stuff that nobody would ever buy, even for $1 type of thing. And so yeah, it's not easy. And if you have a platform, you wanna have some quality control because you have so much junk, which what it would probably be. Then even if you do have some good stuff, it becomes too cumbersome and too hard to kind of make those ones shine because there's so much other junk. So it's not impossible. I mean, if somebody was really willing to, take a lot of time in doing that quality control, it could be done. But then it comes down to like, how much commission would you have to charge for it to be worth your while, right? For me on the socials, it was more for fun, so there was no commission. But at a certain point, if you're going to do this longer term, you got to make some money out of it, and it's a lot more work than people think.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, and of course, Now you can do so many things that are going to be automated. And plus, I got names that are better than most people's, and I'd be willing to send some of them no reserve. Just like I said, what Ryan did. Why would someone do that with a 3-letter? But we all know 1 out of 100 are going to be good and worthwhile. But there does need to be a place, and plus good names drop all the time. So that shows you not only do people make mistakes and not renew a good name, some people are going to make mistakes and offer a good name at no reserve. Okay, so there's 2 types of people. Some don't know. I just let a fucking name drop. It's $50,000. It went for, but some people are going to think, you know what? I don't want to I don't want to participate in this anymore. I have these 1,000 names. You guys are right. Only 10 of them are good. But still, where can I unload those 10? We were just saying name pros, and you might, and you're right, those 10, you might only get $200 per name. But some, I'm the kind, it's like you're moving and it's all, you're leaving it there at the house. If somebody wants to buy a little bit of it and then saying, well, it's just not worth a platform's time, that could be, but now believe it, and you're probably not real familiar with AI, but yeah, it can all be done automated, and I think there is something there. I'm spending too much time now. Domainescrow.com. Go to domainescrow.com if you want a safe and secure transaction, faster payouts than escrow.com, more secure, I consider it, and more hand. Okay, I say that because, can't set up a platform for auctioning, although I can't help myself but think about maybe looking into it. Well, let's go to robotics. I know who robotics. I forget who this is. When they talk, I'll remember. Is it David? Who? Anyway, robotics. Go ahead. Yeah, robotics. You're on stage. What do you want to do? Robotics. Better see that fucking thing come off mute. But I'm looking at that red microphone with the slice through it. Are you there, robotics? All right, KW, did you get back on stage? I don't see KW, but I invited her back up.
Oh, sorry, Todd. I was on mute. Just coming back to you about the auctions. Yeah, Dynadot is one for the auctions that you can watch them live. But the only problem, as I said, if you go into the no reserves, you could end up losing your domain for a small price. Like I picked up 2 3-letters last week, one for €3 and one for €8 on a .ie. Two really good ones. But Dynadot, you can watch them live. Like they time down like 5 days left, 4 days left, 1 hour left. So Dynadot is one for it, and the Cito does a big auction, but you have to they're really strict about the type of name and things like that. Even though you think your name is auction worthy and is a strong name, sometimes they just refuse them unless they're like a 4-letter.com, like the word gold or something like that. I just said I'd let you know that.
It really comes down to it's like visibility and eyeballs, right? And getting a critical mass of buyers and critical mass of quality names and putting that together. I don't know if I mean, obviously Epic, we want to maybe stay away from there, but I don't know if Name Liquidate even exists anymore. But that was another platform you could do that at. And then also, when your name's expired at Epic, it would automatically go to Name Liquidate. I know I've I've sold a few domains there, just some stuff I just wanted to drop randomly, and it's like, oh, you get an email saying, oh yeah, you got like $30 or $50.
Why bring up something from 5 years ago? We know that. I mean,
But do they still exist? I thought they still might exist.
We don't know. We know Epic doesn't, so probably Name Liquidate doesn't. But there is, I got to say, there is. We know most of it's crap when people want to auction for no reserve. But GoDaddy did it for a long time, and it was worth our while. Was it worth their while? Maybe not, but I don't believe it really cost them. I think they just wanted to get out of it. Basically, every registrar loves, auctioning off the drop names.
Did you sell like a volume of names through the GoDaddy auctions back in those days?
Well, a volume of names. Listen,
More
Arif.
than two or
I
three
sold
G's.
plenty. Yeah, I sold plenty. You know how many
No,
when I
I'm not.
dropped them? How many?
I'm not saying in a bad way.
Oh, no, but I'm
Todd, I'm
saying,
not
you
saying
know
in
how
a
many
bad
sold
way.
when we drop them? A ton of them. So GoDaddy still is doing the exact same thing. They're spending
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
so they'll do it when you drop the name. They don't mind, but they didn't want to help you as a private seller because they're like, fuck it. Then we have to give you, all the money, and we get to keep 20% or whatever. But the point is, it's the same amount of work. They just felt like, well, we're not making enough, but it's no additional work to them. That's like, you look how many shitty names are at GoDaddy in the expired auctions. Well, you know what happens? People don't bid on them. Well, and people don't bid on 99% of the names because most of it is shit. It's worse than the stuff that we don't want to sell because we don't have a private auction. It's worse. It's stuff we actually dropped. It is shit. And you know who buys the stuff? Still, other domain investors are like, I still want it. And that's like with all the names that you've picked up, 5,000 now, 6,000. Some of those are fucking worthless. Some of them are worth a lot. Now, you might not think so, but you picked up some of them. They were expired. Somebody else didn't want them. So you got them for $5 or $10 and you think it's a great deal. But they're thinking, I didn't even want this trash. And you're like, this isn't trash. Look, you can turn it into a cup and drink water out of it. So the point is, it is all the names that you're buying. You've basically you've been picking through the trash. You're just acting like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
None of that stuff is all the stuff I picked wasn't. I'm just, I know there's no one really wants to help out. That's how I look at it. I don't think is it, and they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to be a charity, but I feel like they're doing this already. They're already offering expired names, just like at NameJet. They can't wait to offer expired names, but they just didn't want to have to do that additional connection with the domain investor for only 20%, for only the small commission as opposed to all of it. So they just turned off the knob. It's just like a high roller casino. People, they make money off the guys doing the penny slots and the nickels, but they think, you know what? We don't even want them in here. They smell, so fuck them. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I guess
I'm thinking there might be a way to kind of handle the quality control on the front end of it, right? Rather than just put it all on the back. If you incentivize people who want to list, hey, maybe it costs $20 or whatever to list your auctions, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to list all of my trash names, but I do think that I'm,
I think at the end GoDaddy. I think at the end GoDaddy did do that. Were they charging $20 at the end to list the private names? I think they did at one point.
Maybe that was the minimum charge when you sold one. Maybe, but or somebody could do like Mike does over at, doesn't he? No, maybe not. I was going to say renewing it. Curate things, and why wouldn't you just have AI curate the list for you and say, listen, if it doesn't meet it, and then of course domain investors are like, how come this one didn't make it but that one did? But you can, I'm gonna have to look into, it's more of probably the transactions of people not paying and that type of thing, but there could be something there. Josh, I'm going to ask you about DNX. Okay, when this is a registrar, what are your long-term thoughts about when people let names expire at DNX? How is that going down? You thought about a partnership with the previous owner, not a partnership, but splitting some money. But how have your thoughts progressed, or tell us what's going on there about how DNX may have expired auctions?
Yeah. There's a lot that goes into being a registrar, and some like the partnerships that you need to develop, and
Yep. Lost him. Lost him in the swamp. Am I right, everybody?
I'm pretty sure he's going to say that the back end is not that easy. There's a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
I think with GoDaddy, the only thing that makes sense for them to stop doing that, because as you said, like they have so much volume, like who cares to them, would be maybe they thought exactly that. Like they thought the money was being split up, right? They thought people were coming in to buy with a certain budget, and that it's better for them if it's the expired auction because they get 100% of the profit versus 20% of just a commission. That would be the only thing that makes sense. Although I don't really see that, right? I think there's almost unlimited budget for buyers as long as the domain quality is good enough. So I don't know.
I don't know what happened there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yep.
No, I was just saying that there's a lot of things that go into expired auctions. I think at the end of the day, one of the things that we would like to do is find a way to give back some of the revenue to the holder. But it's just a matter of how we implement that and whether or not we actually can without hurting ourselves in other areas.
Yeah, because the
There's
margins.
just always it's so hard to explain. Like, I've learned so much over the last few months, but long story short is that being like an appealing registrar for like volume domainers is basically unprofitable. And I think that expired auctions is a way that a lot of these registrars make up for that.
Yeah, that's like I was going to say. Like the margins are so tight, especially with domainers. Is that you need to, because for GoDaddy, they make make their profits on emails and hosting plans and whatever it is. But as domain investors, the percentage of domains that we have email plans for and hosting plans for is just a tiny fraction compared to the standard average sort of registration pool of regular users who have businesses and whatnot. So yeah, I when I see a lot of registrars do these super cheap pricing promotions, I'm like, awesome, right? Like I'm one of the cheapest domainers out there. I'll follow along. But at the end of the day, I'm also worried a little bit, like, is that company going to be there in 3 years from now, right? Because if they're not making any profit, it's just what's going to happen longer term. So a lot of us domainers will take advantage of all the new ones coming in. Every year there's a new one that's offering some deep discounts for transferring, so we go there. But at the end of the day, it's good to have some stability too. So just good luck. I want to wish you luck. I think you know enough about the industry where I'm pretty hopeful. But again, it's you got to make money somewhere.
Yeah, can the guy take a shit? I'm just kidding. I was trying to had Josh to co-host again, and I couldn't find him on my map. Hey, James.
It's all right. I like being in the audience.
I know, he's like a speaker, like sneaking around. Hey, James, what's up? Nice to have you.
Hey, good morning, afternoon, and evening to everybody. Has anybody ever literally taken a domain name from hand reg to full out corporation? Like, real world business?
Yeah, I did with ABC Productions, and I fucking made a couple movies, and I had distributed the movies for not in the 7 figures, but only the 6 figures. But in American Business Capital, I registered ABCMA, and I've done for 30. But basically, I've been business since '96. But so many times, and I was going to say, I know I can. I did HollywoodPast.com. I did for a long time. I had a and I still do it. Still, it's on eBay, that whole business, but I had its own website. And then buy 12s and buylps.com from the years 2000 to 2005. I sold a lot of vinyl, and I did it right on, hand registering a domain name, turning it into a company. My wife right now is up in the 4 figures, over 1,000 per month, well over that now. But we registered Horspa, HORSPA.com, and this was a year and a half now, almost 2 years ago. But so registering this name, I was thrilled. I couldn't believe it was available. And then somebody told me, forget which friend, said, "Hey, Horse Spa is on GoDaddy expired," and I think I picked that up for $400. So that just Horse Spa, those 2 words pointed to. But absolutely, if it wasn't for that's was really how I got into the business of thinking, hey, this buylps.com was my main site back in the day, selling LPs and buy 12s, as we call the singles. But
Right.
So yeah, I did.
Well,
Still do.
I got to say, I did read your bio, and I was very impressed with where you took it. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you specifically, because what I deal with is in the entertainment industry as well. And there were some things that, first and foremost, I spent my life behind a guitar and behind the glass, okay, and on stage. So I had the ideas of doing the things that I wanted to do and build out. But before some tragedies hit my family, the idea was to joint venture and or sell portfolios to pay for what I wanted to do on my own. And as far as the real world, I basically hand registered what I would have considered to be real world businesses, thinking to build them. Like I own AIHolodex.com, stuff like that. So it was mostly for the entertainment business, a lot of it in festivals and stuff. But considering where we're going as a whatever you want to call this world we're living in right now, I don't know how big festivals are going to be. But man, if you wouldn't mind like hitting in the DMs with me, I would try to make it worth your time somehow. And also, Brooke, I read your profile and I would very much like to contact you. I tried to send you a message, but apparently I think we have to follow each other for that, because I'd like to get your opinion too as an active broker. I think that would be fantastic. And thank you for your time and answering the questions.
Absolutely, James. And sure, yeah, I'll be jumping in your DMs like a fucking duck on a June bug. Hey, no, I will. So, Brooke is one of the best brokers in the business. So, I know she's busy, but she'll get back to you. I will say, other brokers in this space too, and we get to see them we go to these ICA meetups and they have like a brokers meeting, and it's awesome because all the brokers are there, all the ones you've heard of. And then there's, quite a few you haven't heard of, but, you get an idea of who would be good to work with.
They're all invited. I mean, if I may, can I say the name of the site and you can go check out the portfolio? And if any of you guys think you have a buyer for something special, hey, I'm open. I'm at a critical point in life, as I mentioned, the tragedies, and I'm 500 strong on the portfolio in various categories, from CBDs to THC to everything that's basically, I would hope, would be in fashion today.
What's the site, James? And people can go there if
it's
they want.
It's called Web Portfolio Management.com.
Okay, so is there an E in management after the G in management, or no?
No, it's the full word.
Okay.
Web Portfolio Management, all three words.com.
Yeah, sounds okay. All right, webportfoliomanagement.com. See, we're hawking stuff here.
Yeah.
Josh.
I prefer joint ventures. And if you want a piece of the joint venture and you can line it up, hey, you got it. Sure. I ain't fucking greedy. Pardon my French.
No sweat.
And thank you for the time. I'll drop down.
No sweat. Hey, thanks. And Philip joined us on stage. I remember Philip was he here last week, or were you in Domain Name Law, or were you on Issues Show? Somewhere I remember seeing Philip. I can't remember if it went well or not. But Philip, what's up?
Hello, good day, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're here. Nice to have you. Just run with it. What do you want to talk about?
All right. I don't have much to say. I just want to ask just few questions on the call. So I was searching about a particular domain. It's a medical niche. So I found out that the domain has been registered, or it has been used, I think 1980. That was the year that it was used. So, and the domain is still available for purchase. So I was thinking, based on the trademark rule, is it a good product to register and flip, or is it something that you should let go?
Okay, put down the nail gun. First of all, 1980, I don't know. I think they started letting you register names at 85, or you couldn't even register them then, but they were. But anyway, what was the name? Spell it. Spell the domain name.
I think it's a 7-word domain, NICFEN. No, sorry, it's Nicofen. That's NICAFEN. Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying it's available to register. Well, not anymore, because Dave X just registered it when you mentioned it. No, I'm just kidding. NICAFEN. I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like a made up type of nicotine type product, who knows? And if it's somebody like, say, Marlboro, or what's that, Philip Morris, or say a company like that had a product, it's like these pharmaceuticals, they have a product and they made up this name. Well, nowadays, a lot of those made up names, we consider them, hey, that's a good brandable. So you could try to make a case that I got it for this other reason. But if you are registering any name, not just this one, but it's we can say like fanciful, like it's a made up word or made up name that some company has created a product with. And many times companies don't go out and just buy every product name that they have. So you'll notice, oh no, I can't believe I did that before too. Like this drug is called monoxyoxydol. And then you go, look, they don't even have their name, because they may have people going to their main website, Pfizer. And then, so you go ahead and register this crazy drug name. Well, that can be an issue because one, why did you register it? You registered it because you saw that this one company has a product on it, and that really is considered targeting. You got it unless you said, I was subscribed this drug and it really had terrible side effects and I want to let the world know in a non-commercial way that this could be dangerous. Then you may have a case, but it's fact by fact, depending. But yeah, so made up words like that. Why would you be interested in buying it?
Well, I think that I won't just buy it, but well, I just saw the name and was just thinking the word was kind of magical to me because I was exploring the health sector and found the name. And I was thinking, what if someone should have this as a product, which you mentioned earlier? And I think I've gotten that answer. But come to a part, thinking about you procuring a domain, what do you think I should target if I'm to go for that particular domain? Although I don't look at chasing that particular domain based on the things surrounding it, but someone going having that particular um problem, what do you think the person should do? Should the person go for the domain or should the person forget about it? But personally, I don't work on uh brandable domains. I focus more on geo domains, but I'm trying to get the knowledge behind this.
Well, lucky I'm hosting the show and not Jeremiah because he doesn't like the conversation. But anyway, sound like you said, I don't like brandable names. I focus on Jew domains. I know you didn't say that, but I couldn't be clear. But if you're asking a super general question like where to focus your domain investing, attention, well, everybody's got a different. I mean, I was going to say, just so we can get this back on the topic, you say like 2 word uh, descriptive names like uh, canoe trips, or I saw a name that was available, sunset or sunrise charters, and I thought, geez, I looked it up and like a zillion companies from in Tennessee all over. But I mean, some people like names like that, and I'm talking about 2 word names that you might be able to pick up for less than $500. Sometimes you can hand register pretty good names that are 2 word. I just hand registered namecustody.com because we're doing some of that, and probably I'll never use it, maybe just redirect it to a certain page, but it's really about providing a service that, anyway, just showing you that every once in a while you come up with a name that you think, if I had a little service or this, uh, I would call it this, and then it's available and it's worthless probably to anybody else, but only to you if you're going to use it for a business. Now, if you're going to, think about what names can I buy and then resell, that's what we're all sitting here, trying to figure out. But I mean, such a general question. I don't want you to go on because we only got 15 more minutes and people just can't take it. Just can't take. I don't know what to do. But Philip, before I cut you off, where are you calling from?
Calling from Nigeria.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us. I know, what time is it right now where you're at? Is it 9:30 p.m.?
I think it's 12 minutes past 7 p.m.
Okay, I knew I was wrong, but I mean, you're right. You're just below Morocco, right? I have no idea. Okay, but no, stick around, listen. Thanks. So that's what we talk about here, just domain investing tips. I'm going to go right to our outline, dnxshow.com. What a nice outline, and what a nice, website, dnxshow.com. There was a Josh says, guarantee that 50% of my decisions could not be handed off to AI. Well, I'm glad I see that one on there. I want to get to him there. So you sound to me like Arif a little bit. But anyway, what are some of the decisions that AI couldn't handle? Because I know they could raise your kids better than you. Anyways, okay, but what couldn't they do, Josh? Tell me.
I mean, that's a gosh question. That question is kind of, what couldn't they do? I mean, any kind of decision that requires um most decisions that I find myself making require a lot of context that AI just doesn't have about either my life, my goals, my vision, um, things that are not public, and then there's just like certain nuances that, if I'm discussing things with my team, I know that you can get AI to, go through your emails, go through your X, and just like analyze exactly how you, speak and where you word things and things like that. But I don't know about you, but when I'm making a decision, I think about a lot of things that it's just not possible for an AI to replicate at the moment, regardless of how much access they have to my things, which is just another thing altogether. I don't necessarily want to give them full access to my entire life, but um, yeah, I mean, I'm not even always totally sure of my decisions at the beginning. So leaving some of those things in the hands of AI, it, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it. There's just no chance.
Yeah, I mean, Josh, you do make a good point there, and that is, um, we're always changing our perspectives too. So the AI wouldn't know, even if you loaded it up, say like Rick Schwartz has done. I bet his AI, I bet it just knows everything about him. He just shares everything with Betty. But I mean, imagine sharing all your medical history as much as, I mean, and all your tax history, and just really, obviously, all your posts don't give AI, your perspectives on everything. It's really almost weird, because most of my, uh, like my stuff is like making fun of people. It's not really, it's not the full picture. And you're right, AI is never going to almost never have the full picture. It always fills in the blanks. Like, I think you would answer this way, but right, it doesn't know.
Yeah, but and I mean also, like, when you're having a conversation with an AI and you ask it its you know opinion on something, or you ask for it to make a decision on something that you're asking it about, um, and then it makes a decision, and then let's say that you don't agree with it, you then say, you know, are you sure about that? Because I see it this way. What does AI do next? In almost all cases,
You're right. I was overthinking it. You're probably right to keep it
right?
simple. They do some bullshit like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Regardless of the model, it always does it. And how am I going to leave important decisions to AI?
Well, but Josh, I
It's
would say
not.
there's some things that it wouldn't do that for, because I use co-work a lot, and then I'll say, well, I'd prefer if we did this. And it's like, well, sorry, if you do that, it's going to be contradictory to your other code, or, so it can step
Yes,
in.
yes. So
Right.
like again, like that, but I think that, see, this is where I see things very different to like a lot of people, like techie guys that are, very, very competent with AI, is that they're kind of viewing things from a um like Well, I mean, tasks, like simple tasks that require no context. And I see, for me, that my day to day is completely different. It doesn't, it involves so much context and stuff that AI has no access to. It might be a conversation that I had with GoDaddy yesterday, or a conversation that I had, with Atom, or a conversation I had with Mike Seiger at NamesCon last year, or um, you know, things. You get the idea.
Yeah, you certainly need to load it up with knowledge. But I was going to say about, say, legal stuff, and now there's all these different legal AI, but that all from Westlaw or LexisNexis or Clio, a lot of these services that we use at a law firm. Well, the AI does anticipate if you're using this defense, you need to know that you may receive, this rebuttal from the other side. I mean, it can, it does. There is a lot of business sense to AI, but certainly didn't services. I guess what my point is that it's not going to know everything you know, but it's going to know plenty of things you don't know as well. So it's, right. It's like the self-driving. It can't drive the car exactly like you, but can it drive it better? And it's like, well, that's when you really think, listen, this is so specialized what I'm doing, that I like that you're just, basically helping me out to the fullest, enhancing. So, right, I will always have to agree. It's not. That's why were people so nervous about AI replacing, you know, until people really like robots, and then these robots can speak like a human and people don't mind watching AI actors and stuff like that. Until then, it's like it's the human personality more than anything, that it factor that they say, stars have, or athletes, or the ones that they're not just great athlete, but they got the determination. Plus, sometimes they have a anyway, I don't know. Dan, did you want to say something? Was it Dan? Or yeah, I think it
Yeah,
was.
well,
Go ahead.
I just have had a really great experience with kind of this deeper level thinking, and I wouldn't automate away the decisions, but one tool that I was just building really until late last night is called Probe, completely free, and will remain that way. So if you go to probe.md, it basically can take a paragraph of text or a document, or some kind of raw messy idea, or maybe even a first draft of a decision that you're considering, and then it tackles it with six different agents, all coming from a different critical analysis lens, to challenge assumptions and to clarify things, or provide evidence and even question the question. And I've used that. I use it daily, just to have a conversation with my own thoughts, and see things from perspectives that I haven't used. So it's available in the Claude Code Marketplace as a plugin. I can link to it, but yeah, free, and try it out. Let me know what you think. But it's helped me in so many situations.
Great. Everybody follow Dan, and you can, post it on your timeline, or post it on our timeline here if you want. Go on one of mine for this show. But Josh, it makes me think it's sort of like sitting in a boardroom with, if you're lucky enough, sit in a boardroom with 4 or 5 guys, and they're just so smart, right? They're just the smartest guys in the world. If you still feel like you can't contribute something to those fucking brilliant geniuses, then man, that's on you. You better come up with something you got to add to it. So you may not be the one who adds the most amount, but my point is, if you're dealing with, that's how I always feel like that with AI. It can do so much. It's so awesome. It's like I'm dealing with professors that have been studying things for years, and still I feel like, get me up to speed. I'm going to be able to add something to it some way. And that's just confidence in yourself, because many times I find myself, no, really not being able to add much of value if I'm around experts in a certain area. But if you're somebody who just feels like, bug, I can't, nothing I say is worthwhile, well, then that's more of a, you know, that's your issue. You then use AI for therapy. Yeah, there was a on our outline. I did notice something I've had on for a few weeks that was well, it was basically AI has made one thing perfectly clear. Most doctors are so far behind the health curve, it's sickening. And they are also an incredibly defensive, stubborn, righteous group. They talk down to people who now finally have a source of truth beyond the pharma machine. And I put lawyers too. But I don't know. Somebody posted that. I don't think you posted that, Josh. Somebody posted it on X. But they are, they can't wait to, doctors and lawyers, I've brought it up before, they can't wait to say all the mistakes that AI makes. And it's like, you know how many mistakes doctors have made before AI was even around? And how many mistakes lawyers make? It's fucking, the number is unbelievable. It's just like the same thing with the full self-driving. We're going to be here for another 10 minutes. If you have something to say, come on up and say it now. But Josh, about what's going on over at the DNX Discord? Is it, getting busy again? Are you giving away stuff? What's going on over there? Can't hear a thing. Cannot hear a thing. All right, let me look at my outline. I got time. I got time to burn, buddy.
Yeah, I'll just say like I agree with Josh when it comes to the AI stuff. I think everything's context, right? Doesn't mean things where it's gonna be really good and help you tremendously, and there's other things where you don't really want to trust it because it's either not quite there yet or
Coming from
it's
somebody
just
who doesn't use it at all. It's unbelievable, Arif. I mean, it's no big deal, but I don't mind you don't use it, except to say, yeah, and I don't think you don't
no, I've
even use
tinkered
it.
with it. I've tinkered with it. I've
What
tinkered with
did
it. Okay, I
babe,
haven't, I
bud?
haven't
I
used it.
called you babe. Babe, sound like I'm talking to my wife. Um, yeah, tinkered with. So, but
Okay,
anyway,
honey bunny.
you don't even. And I was going to say about that fucking platform. I'm going to build one. But anyway, I know no one cares. But Dick.com, this platform I've built, it's so sophisticated that fucking I don't. If anybody in this room could build it, they'd have to do it with engineers. I mean, bottom line, I think it's like when sometimes you just can't mimic what people do. And it's like, I'm going to write a
Yeah,
goofy ass roast for fucking NamesCon. And I'd say, I'm sure somebody else could do it too. It's not going to be like mine. Okay. So when unique individuals create unique things, but I mean, when it comes to a fucking streaming platform like Kick that incorporates X402 protocol and has chat, and they're doing things that's not even out there yet, and it's
but
not easy, and
I
it's beyond,
yeah,
it's so
I
many levels of stuff, and it's difficult, but yet people act like, well, they just assume because if they know you
That's
too.
that's Todd, that's exactly my point. Everything within context. I've tested what you did. I think it's really good what you've put out there, right? Especially somebody who may not have technical skills on that end previous to that. I think it's really impressive, right? It's just a question of like it's not always if you build something great that people will come. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Like that's a different thing. But I think what you built was like I was impressed. It's not a simple thing that you built, right? And I know you've used AI for it, but I'm saying like that's a reason to use AI, right? There's always different reasons for using it. Sometimes it's what you're doing. Sometimes it's what Josh is talking about. Like you want to make decisions overall that has more to do with multiple aspects of your life that you've learned over the years that you can't really put into words quite specifically, and there's a lot of nuances. And so like yeah, it's for some things it's good. Like for me, domain selection, yeah, it could probably help you like Estabot helps you, right? It's a macro level filtration, but when it comes time to actual selection, yeah, I want to use my own brain in the context, but again, it could help you, right? It's just a question you have to do it for the proper uses, and like what you've done again, like it's very impressive
I do think, just for what it's worth, that grok.bot is kind of changing the game from a usability standpoint, and what you're able to do with it is pretty remarkable as far as tasks go. I think that, like anything, the way that people use tools is going to determine how much success they have with it. But it is a very, very powerful tool. I've spent the last few days just using it, and yeah, I mean, even from a domain investing standpoint, there's some pretty cool things you can do.
So I'm familiar with Grok some, but I don't even use that, as I use other AI, platforms and services. But what's grok.bot? What is that exactly? Just their co-work or something? Basically, it handles your tasks on your local computer. I mean, what is it?
Yeah, it's like Claude, I guess, but easier to use.
I just equate AI to, it's just like before people had backhoes or big pieces of machinery. It's like fucking, you just think, how did they do things before they had these post holes? Well, I mean, these automated big diggers. Well, they did it manually. So it just in. But I mean, even more, it's like, how did people get from one place to another before airplanes? Well, so I think it's that type of invention where it's just so wonderful. But of course, people are like, well, I've never been on a plane and I'm still a successful businessman. I agree. I mean, you can still do it. And I always thought it was a joke anyway. I think most air travel is a waste. I know people want to see places, but most business air travel, when they came out in the 1980s with, this looked like a, I don't know, one of those vacuums that goes across the floor. But anyway, you put it on your conference room table and you got a video screen and you can see all your other. But no, people have to go and play golf with each other in order to fucking build a rapport or whatever. But I always felt like, try to do things efficiently, and there is technology, but it's just such a, I don't know, such a big invention, and it's really just unbelievable that and plus it's more of like bouncing ideas, whether it's off your good friend or off your professor, your coach, your therapist. People want to have advice or, second opinion. But I love it when you think, you know what? No, I'm going to go ahead and stick with my original idea. Thanks for the other 10 ideas you gave me or ways to build on it. But I think I'm still going to, that's when I think, of course, you'd be, I think it's even more, valuable then, because you want to bounce your ideas off things. And it really is anyway, okay, we don't need to talk about AI. That's it for today. 90 minutes. But I was holding my breath. I'm like, how can I make it to this thing? And Philip wants to come back on stage. He's going to have to come next week. Hey, seriously, for those listening on replay, go to DNX.com. Check out what's going on there and continue to, because always coming out with some new features on the marketplace, but then soon going to be launching the registrar. So put it on your favorite places, DNX.com. Of course, you can always at DNXShow.com, but we're here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. And if you are you haven't got a big domain transaction, it can be a small one too, but really our specialty is at least transactions over 25,000. But whether it's a lease to own, a straight rental, or just a flat out purchase, or if you and the buyer agree, hey, I'm selling a name, they want to pay with crypto, you can certainly do that. But just check out domainescrow.com. In the future, just have that in your arsenal of being able to say, if you're dealing with a buyer and you feel like they want some security, throw it out to them that here's, a company that can be our custodian, our agent for the transaction, and they're a neutral party, but also we make sure both parties have a legal agreement between both of them to protect both you as the seller and as the buyer. And I'd be happy to walk you through it, but also share with you how we do it at domainescrow.com. All right. Thanks for being here. Let's see. I got once again, it's Philip. Philip, we're done for the day. See you next week. Thank you, Josh. Talk to you soon. And everybody else for being on stage. And Adam, great stuff today. And thanks, Arif. Of course, Dan and Dave, who was here earlier. But fucking great.
Thank you. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Take care. Talk to you next week.
Thank you, guys.
All right.